Part 2, Pete Maina. We're doing it. This is AFS Podcast number 8. You guys ready to do this? Chickens, you ready to do this?
This isn't another fishing show. This is another fishing show.
I am so absolutely intrigued by what's happening with YouTube. And this all started, Maina, with a conversation that I had with a guy named Dave Lefebvre. Okay, he's a Major League Fishing angler. Do you know Dave?
I've heard of Dave. I have not met Dave personally.
Yeah, he fishes Major League Fishing, and he's a professional angler, professional bass fisherman. He knew that somehow through the grapevine, I'm not going to go through the whole long story on this, but he found out.
Sounds like he is.
Yeah, he's going there.
Well,
yeah.
So he knew of another fishing show. Okay, we had.
Well, who doesn't?
Well, right.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's silly to even mention that.
A buddy of mine. So he had this idea for a fishing show, and a buddy of mine who's a videographer had worked with him, and Dave told my buddy about this show idea that he had, and my buddy told him, he's like, well, actually, there's a show kind of already like that. And so, does that make sense what I'm saying? Am I telling this story? So
maybe take another run.
That's why I didn't want to tell this story. I knew it was like convoluted.
No, so
I don't
saying,
even have to tell this story to tell my original story that I was going to tell.
I mean, it doesn't matter who said what. But
Let me just go back to that. So
Easy now. Can I speak? Oh,
Yes.
no, forget it.
Yes.
No, you go ahead. You go
So
ahead. All
Dave
you.
Lefebvre, anyway, so he knew that I had a YouTube channel, okay? And he's like, yeah, I know your stuff. I like your stuff. He said, have you heard about this YouTube thing? And I go, YouTube? At this time, like, this was 2 years ago, I guess? Like 2 summers ago, I guess? Or was it No, it's 2 summers ago. And I was like, no, I mean, we had our stuff up on YouTube. I think we had 2 videos up on YouTube at the time. And I said, no, I don't know what's going on. Well, like, what are you talking about? He goes, do you know a guy named Fluke Master? And I go, no. And I go, well, let me. And he goes, let me show you something. So I'm in my hotel room, and he's showing me this video on the computer of this guy named Fluke Master that had, at that time, he had 140,000 subscribers. And Dave told me that he was making $40,000 a year off his YouTube channel just from Google AdSense. Immediately, I was like, I perked up. I go, I mean, listen, I know actually, the $40,000 to me is a lot of money, okay? I'm not going to lie. I'm like, but there's a hell of a lot more money than that being made on YouTube.
He already threw out his partner. Did you hear that, Pete? It wasn't even splitting 20/20. He was already counting his $40,000.
Yes.
No.
Just go on. It's just a joke. Just
Okay.
relax.
Okay. So I was just enthralled. I didn't even know that there was any kind of I didn't even know that there was such thing as subscribers.
Well, I didn't know YouTube equaled money somehow.
Right.
Because you don't see people advertising for YouTube. They're just on it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's the really interesting thing about YouTube is that it's all been these guys that were making a lot of money, and like it was all hush hush.
It was all under the table.
Totally on the down low. Because no one knew about it until, I don't know, 2 years ago maybe, that this was really happening on YouTube.
And in fishing, too, which was the odd part of it, too. You know, you see it with, like, cat videos and, like, ridiculous whatever. Anything that doesn't have to do with fishing, and all of a sudden fishing just...
Cat videos?
Yeah, cat videos are a thing on YouTube.
Oh.
Like, people are obsessed with cats.
Chicken videos, too, man.
I was just going to say. Come here, chicken. Get over here.
Yeah, Pete, you might be in the wrong business. You could be making $1 million a year on these chickens you've got. But YouTube essentially is full of nonsense of things that you can't believe people watch. And then all of a sudden we started seeing these different fishing videos come up. And we come from that old school world, much like you do, of high production and, you know, people out there working hard for every minute that makes it
Pete
to
knows
the screen.
exactly what we're talking about. That's been the world that he lived in.
Yeah, he would grind it out and put out these amazing shows, and it's not easy. And then all of a sudden we see these kids that are just throwing a GoPro on their chest, and they're going fishing for a day, and now they're close to retirement at like 25 apparently. Like, what's going on? You know, what's happening with the world?
Like, what are your thoughts
and we sound like
this,
old
Pete?
guys
Like,
sitting around
seriously,
talking about it, but it's true. It's crazy.
like, what are your thoughts when you hear that? Like, some kid that, you know, and this isn't knocking these guys. I don't, you know.
No,
more
power to them.
And But it is really such this like pivotal change, like transition in video where
is the delivery of the video is just entirely changed now. Everything's on demand.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts as a veteran? I mean, you've been doing television for many, many years.
Do you feel like killing chickens sometimes? Does that ever come up?
Yeah. I like chicken, by the way.
I do too.
Yeah,
I eat a lot of chicken.
Charcoal grill.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know what that has to do with you.
Doesn't have to do anything. I love it though.
Probably. But anyway, well, maybe, let's see. I probably took it as, now, the interesting thing is, I had, I don't know if they call them channels or if they called them back then, but I had a YouTube channel. I know I got thrown off of YouTube at one point a while ago because I did squirrel launching videos.
Is that
true?
Actually,
don't tell my wife this, but I hit a squirrel coming here.
Oh, no. Well, that's way worse than what I did.
Well, exactly. You were
Wait
basically like it would be a squirrel trying to attack the bird feeder, and you created a contraption that would would cradle. I'm saying it would cradle the squirrel, and once it stepped into the cradle, it would launch it like a catapult into the woods.
It would
right?
gently move the squirrel back to his natural habitat.
Yeah,
essentially.
Oh, and but they enjoyed it.
So did you have a channel up with your fishing videos on it, and then you got into the squirrel launching? And
yeah. I got. Well, it was just a fun event. I mean, people, you really got to try it. I mean, if you haven't squirrel launched, it'll cure anything. If laughter's the best medicine, it'll cure cancer. It's a wonderful deal, and the squirrels like it. I mean, I should charge.
They become flying squirrels,
right?
Yeah, and they come right back and
do
it again. I mean, really,
they're built for that kind of stuff, I mean, how many times have they suffered, not getting up the bird feeder and falling back down again? It's no different than that.
Oh, absolutely. And you see the more experienced ones. I mean, on their first try, they generally tumble through the air, but
right.
You see the ones that really get enjoying it. I mean, they got form. I mean, they get their little wings out. Oh yeah, that's pretty interesting.
How have I not heard that story yet? Oh, that is amazing. So,
well, you haven't hung out with me as much as Greg.
I still, even so, that one should have got to me at some point. But so, and this was like, how long ago was that where you had a YouTube channel?
Oh, it's been a little while ago now. It was probably 4 or 5 years ago that I got tossed off for that.
Right.
But
but you're back.
Yeah, I'm back.
They're going to take us down now.
Apparently, some frog licking bunny hugger types didn't like I don't know what the heck the deal was. And then, the weird thing is I go search squirrel launch and you see it everywhere.
Really?
It's all over.
See, it's like cat videos.
I think I started something.
Well,
actually.
Maybe you might want to bring that back, and maybe we'll start that too.
Well, be careful.
Okay.
Be careful.
Okay.
And by the way, the squirrels were stealing. It wasn't like they were, borrowing food. They were stealing
no,
food.
they were eating it.
Yeah, it was meant for a different species. So the squirrel is guilty. There's no doubt there. But we should probably move on.
What were we doing? What do I think about this YouTube thing?
Nextbite always had a YouTube presence too, right? Didn't they?
Oh, I think,
Was it full
Nextbite
episodes?
and John Glenn. I think everybody's getting one now. But I will say that there was a period here a couple of years ago, and Greg and I had talked about this. I was starting to hear the same things from other people in the industry that, hey, this might really be a deal, and there's some young people that are really doing well with it.
Right.
And I had never pondered it, being from the old school.
Yeah.
And frankly, I'm very honest about this, and I'm a grumpy old man when it comes to any kind of technology. You gotta.
Good for you.
Yeah, I mean, these smartphones and these computers and. Life was okay with a mailbox and a phone with a cord attached to it as far
People
as I'm
survived.
concerned.
So in a goldfish pond, tell you the weather.
Right. Yeah. But I generally got to be drugged by my long hair into this technology thing. But all of that aside, it really is an interesting deal that I didn't expect. And, of course, Greg, he gets all Google-eyed because he heard about the money, But
is that how I portrayed it as?
I
really
did.
It was a money grab.
I don't.
It seemed
so.
that's kind of shallow.
It directly relates to his hate of cubicles because he's
that's true. Yeah.
If he can figure out a way to not be in a cubicle,
yeah, that's true.
That's a dream come true. So it's not necessarily a money grab. It's more of avoiding other jobs.
Yeah, that's kind of actually
is
true.
The key.
That is true.
Yeah, it really is
very true.
Happiness.
I told my wife one time. I said, I just learned this about myself. I'm not motivated by money. And then it was just
Bad
silent.
thing to tell your wife.
It was just silent. And she didn't say anything.
Right now she's crying as she watches the podcast.
So, yeah. You don't want to say that to your wife. So the
I'm not
thing
motivated by love or money.
No. But the thing about like what gets me about YouTube, what I think is really interesting, and I know but you have a smartphone, don't you? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I actually do.
Yeah, I mean, I talk to you on it from time to time.
Yeah, you have. We text from time to time.
Yeah, exactly. So what I like about what's going on, and in many ways, the thing about YouTube, it's incredibly frustrating because really it seems like at least starting out, you have to just be all clickbait. I mean, just to try to get people's attention, it's like you got to do some thumbnail that's just over the top and some description or title that just gets people's attention. That is just, I'd love to do a description or a thumbnail that was just like not obnoxious for once,
Right.
But it seems like at this stage anyway, for small YouTubers, they have to kind of be obnoxious.
Maybe we should just use fishing for clickbait. Like, clickbait's technically a fishing term of sorts, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Why not use it? We should be.
You're absolutely right.
I shouldn't be giving this stuff away, actually.
Yeah,
No,
keep
you really
that on.
shouldn't.
Just
I can
cut
edit,
that out.
I'll edit
yeah,
it out.
it's
I'm
just
sure I'll
edit it out.
remember. Yeah.
Or keep it in. That's fine. But what I like, I go on all these. I digress, and I have like an ADD, Pete. So I apologize, especially on the podcast. So if I go on all these different tangents and whatnot, just please bear with me.
Oh, I know all about it.
My job's to rein them in, so feel free to help
and you
at
can
any point.
feel free to, you can do that as well. But what I like about YouTube, other than everything having to be clickbait, is that in many ways it's an ideal way to view content, better than television. The fact that you can, if you want, you can watch it on your television, but you can also watch it on your smartphone anywhere,
Yeah.
And then you can also have interaction with the people that like your content. You can actually have interactions with your fans that are like almost real time, because when someone comments on our video, we immediately, it comes up on our phone that someone commented on. I mean, let's face it, some people, it's like, oh gosh, you don't want to, especially someone like yourself, it's like, oh God, I got to respond to all these comments.
I'm fishing. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
Right.
But so I guess it's a double-edged sword there.
It kind of is.
It is.
Right. But it's a way to interact with your fans, but it turns into a rhythm thing where that when people are interacting with you, you have to interact back, because that's what people expect nowadays when they're viewing content. They expect to be able to deal with you directly, through your phone or whatever that is. But a number of times I've been out on the water not having success, and I've literally sat there and watched videos of guys fishing under the same conditions and improved my day of fishing by watching a video on my phone in the boat. It's kind of crazy you can do that now, because we used to set our VCRs for these fishing shows in the morning that you would actually be on, and then we would watch them over and over and over again, thinking we would learn something, and then we would go out and catch bullheads and realize we didn't have a boat or didn't have any way to get to a lake. So
what are your thoughts on just seeing these young kids like just having such success on YouTube, and also just the fact that there seems to be such a draw of like people wanting to see fishing videos?
Yeah, well, I think it is interesting. I mean, when I made the grumpy old man comment, that's somewhat of 2 decades worth of doing TV the old-fashioned way, where you'd work that hard and put that many days in to create a TV show, and there really wasn't many people doing it at all when I started. And now, I guess the number of standard TV shows has grown, but the YouTube thing is just it's pretty amazing. It's totally different. Now there's the negative reaction was like, well, wait a minute, it used to be only regular TV. That's how you had a TV show. Now everybody's got a TV show. So there's, that was a somewhat negative reaction. It's kind of like, well, gosh, now if everybody's got one, what are you going to do, I guess, differently or anything like that? But on the other hand, it's just an unbelievable, way to put content out there, I guess, differently. What you and I spent so much time talking about on the way to shoots and in between lakes and stuff like that about what we didn't like about regular TV and how we'd like to make it different, but you really couldn't under the format,
right,
you know, that we're doing, and that is where the opportunity is. Now, as far as this, you know, these young guys doing it, I think it's great. I think it's pretty amazing, and I honestly didn't realize. I mean, I got to be very honest. This Alex Perrick, I met him, a great young guy. You can tell he's really into fishing, which I respect. I don't care what species or whatever. People that are dialed and you can tell when they're that way.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know,
super passionate.
and he's into it. He loves it. You can tell that. But I got to be real honest here. Here he's a star. I mean, the guy's got a huge YouTube page.
Yeah.
And I honestly had never heard of him.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how I was when I first learned. I didn't know of a
crazy.
Fluke Master or any of these guys.
And that feedback you get is so instant, not only from the people directly, but you can see how many people are watching it, whether it's male or female, what country they're coming from. You get all that instantly. So he's throwing up videos and 50,000 people are seeing it in the first 24 hours, you know?
Yeah.
It's incredible when you think of those numbers, Pete, because you come from a background in television where it was ratings based and you know, with the next bite and shows, I was going to say programs. People say that's like what my grandpa would call a program. I don't know. Okay, we could call it a program. But like TV shows, like when I was working on like Wintercom and at Wintercom is a production company in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where I used to work. We would do a show. And we'd try to get ratings on the show from like Nielsen, these different ratings report, you know. And you did it with the Next Bite, I'm sure, with Outdoor Channel, trying to get ratings to see how the show was doing. And they were it was always a mystery. It's like, well, what does this number really mean, you know? Like, and now with YouTube, the analytics of it, what you can learn from just one video, the amount of information they give you with one video, demographics, watch time, audience retention, it's mind-blowing. All the information you're getting for free for putting up a video.
Right. They want you to be successful. That's the thing.
And that never, like, coming from a traditional television standpoint, that's tremendously valuable. The tough part, the frustrating thing about YouTube is trying to unlock the, you know, all the good things that we've talked about, you know, going to different shoots, going to, you know, different lakes. Like when we were fantasizing about how great it would be to be able to put up a different kind of fishing show, you know. The frustrating thing I think Wagner and I have learned is you can think you're putting up something that people are going to want to watch or going to love, but it doesn't mean people will find it, and it doesn't
mean
mean
not get to them.
Yeah.
In television, if you produced a great show and you got it on the right time slot on the right channel, you know people are going to see it. With YouTube, it's a level playing field, so you put that up there, and you don't know how to get it and who's going to see it. I noticed the other day there was like 0.5% of our viewers were from Afghanistan. Did you see this? We have a portion.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
In our analytics, who's watching our show? And are those soldiers?
That would be the only thing I could think
who's
of.
Who's got Wi-Fi?
My son told me that.
Hey.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
The Taliban loves us.
Right. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I don't think we want to promote that.
That's a great T-shirt for AFS. But it is just a bizarro world now, the information you can get in it. But it all comes down to a lot of frustrating moments of you make a great video, you put it out there for the world to see, and like you like it, you know, you feel good about it, and then like, well, you know, who's this getting to, and how are we going to make sure everybody sees it? We still haven't sort of unlocked that key.
And so that's the frustrating part is like learning, and I've talked with Maina, we're going to work together to try to figure this thing out together because we're both small YouTubers.
Yeah,
you know,
it's beautiful.
AFS.
I love the new world together.
Yes.
Can we hold hands?
Yes.
Nah, let's not. Forget it.
I was
Save it
ready
for
to.
another day.
I know you were.
Maina is such a man.
Right. Yeah. His hat would fly off if you held your hand right now.
But no, like we're gonna, you know, that's what I'm excited about. You know, just even doing this podcast, trying to figure out this damn YouTube thing together, and even one of the reasons too, why I'm here is after this podcast, I'm gonna impart as much wisdom as I can to Maina with what I've learned, and you know, on YouTube. There's so much more that I need to figure out, you know, and I'm sure like Wagner's delving into this. We're trying to, like, social media just in general, we're trying to figure out this damn game.
It keeps coming in bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that. I don't know that. And then as you sort of get removed from it, it starts to become a clearer and clearer picture. But again, the game has changed because something started early on with those fishing videos where there wasn't a lot of them, and they somehow locked into something that blew up quickly. And I don't know if that's happening anymore. You know, like the quick blow-ups like they saw initially where they went from 0 to...
Well,
you know.
Alex even said that, remember?
Yeah.
He said that there was a time, there was like this golden age of fishing videos on YouTube, which
he'd go to bed and he'd wake up and his
nobody
world...
else was doing it. And,
right.
You know.
Yeah. So, do you notice so look at the colors that he's wearing, Maina. Look at the colors that
this is embarrassing.
Now he's kind of he's wearing yuppie clothes with its Patagonia.
By the way,
I apologize for that, Maina, but he is wearing Packers colors.
Right, and I was born in Milwaukee, by the way, just so everybody knows. I'll throw that out there, but yes, I guess I do have a lot of Packer colors on here today, don't I?
So,
yeah, you do.
So I
You're a
apologize for that. Yeah. A Viking season ticket holder getting thrown under the bus. I think I'm just going to peck around on the floor and look for corn for the rest of this.
Yep.
Well, you've got
you
friends.
fit in perfectly in this garage for sure. But yeah, no, I just think, you know, I'm excited about, you know, I thought about this last night that whatever the case, I'm just going to, you know, we're slowly growing. My gosh, I hear stories of some people, all of a sudden I figured out the YouTube algorithm and we started getting 300 subscribers a day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, we're like maybe getting 3 subscribers a day, and I'm excited as hell about 3 subscribers. Like that is actually movement for us.
We'll be fishing, and Greg will be like, "Another subscriber, Pete. We got another subscriber."
It's a human being that gives a enough about what we're doing. You know, to hit subscribe.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty cool.
And we are having a good time doing it too. So
for
that's
sure.
kind of half the fun part for us. So.
But so that's, you know, there's a lot of pet peeves with YouTube. Check out this segue right here.
Oh, here we go.
He's a pro.
Now, we've set up the fact that Maina and I have spent a ton of time in a boat together, and we've complained a lot about the world, Maina and I.
Oh, we've solved a lot of
I want to hear
problems.
from you.
Yeah.
What are your biggest pet peeves in the fishing industry?
You just
love to do it.
No,
I mean, now I know that you have sponsors and everything, and I'm not trying to. I don't want anything, okay? But let's get real here.
Are we gonna get thrown off YouTube again?
We could.
You just bleep stuff, Pete. You have the power to bleep.
Well, I'm not bleeping any of this.
Okay, no. Don't bleep any.
Get him worked up and just let him go.
Well, there's a few things.
Yes.
You know, the blinking shirts might be number one. No.
Wait a second. Is that a thing?
Well, I don't know.
Tournament shirts.
No, I joke around about it, but I don't think they actually do have battery pack.
Well,
models,
it wouldn't surprise me if it's going that
it's
way.
Coming.
Yeah,
it's coming.
Now I don't know. The blinky shirts are just wrong. I mean, sorry, you tournament guys. I love you, man. You know, a lot of you are my friends. However, how do you wear the shirt?
Yeah.
I mean, really.
The thing is, at least you're in shape, dude. A lot of us, this material, right, that these tournament shirts too are now made out of. What do you think about that? It's like this spandex material.
Oh, it's weird. Yeah, it's like you should be riding a bicycle with a pointy hat. You know,
it's like they expose your body for what it actually is, and fishermen aren't notoriously known for being well-built, statured sort of guys.
Pete's ripped though, man.
Yeah, not this Pete though. There's one Pete that maybe is, but not this Pete. I
so
would
what
look bad
like,
in a tournament shirt.
So is it like it's the patches everywhere? What is it like? What's going on?
Yeah, well, a skinny guy like me doesn't have a chance because apparently it's a real estate deal, and each little point whatever of an acre is valuable stuff.
Right.
And you plop something on there and strut around a little bit, I guess. I don't know, but maybe it's. I understand NASCAR, but in order to make it fun to to watch cars. The racing seems to be a necessary thing. Right now, with fishing, you can just fish and relax, so you don't need to race necessarily.
Right.
I don't know. It's just one of those things that,
I'm with you on this one.
I complain about it because I like to complain. I mean, it's why I started the main event thing a few years ago. I mean, you whine, nobody cares, but, you know.
We care.
It's still fun. I think it's healthy. I think I'm sure Dr. Phil would agree. I've probably seen some of these expert types say that it's really a good idea to let some of these, you know,
you have to vet. If you guys don't know, so on his channel, subscribe to Pete Maina's YouTube channel, Pete Maina Professional Muskie Angler. He does Maina, and this is a great title. So Maina Vents. Main events.
Perfect.
It's a great title.
Writes itself, doesn't it?
Great title.
Yeah.
So where he goes off I'm trying to talk here.
Come on, don't interrupt.
Okay, come over here. You get in on the conversation. What are your pet peeves in the fishing industry? Come here.
Oh, they're talking.
Come on over. But yeah, so you go even on, and I love this too. Listen, I don't have a problem if someone everybody's scared to talk about stuff for fear of like, and I get it. I don't have sponsors, so it's easy for me to say this, but people don't want to rock the boat too much, like talk politically or something. What I like about you is you're not afraid. Okay, you know what? If I'm going to launch some squirrels, I'm going to launch some squirrels. I don't care what, if I'm going to talk politically or something. Now, we might, and I've talked, we've had discussions, political discussions. We don't agree on everything. There's a lot we do agree on.
That's typical politics,
but,
I guess.
But it's fine. Not everybody has to agree with,
That's what makes the world go around, right?
Yeah. For sure.
No, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I just oh my gosh, and look at
all
this.
We got dogs coming into the
set.
Hi,
yes. So
Moses.
so we have and it looks like Esther? Hi over there, Esther. We're doing a podcast.
You want to get in here?
You can come on in if you'd like. So Pete Maina's wife is now entered the garage.
Yeah,
this is Molly.
Molly's
and that
here.
is Moses.
That dog just stole my Powerade.
Oh, he'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we're just talking.
I believe I saw this one on the main event with the number 2. Wasn't that the
what?
The brown dog? I think you were being filmed, and behind you there was a dog doing his business.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Moses does that a lot.
A pondcast. Very nice. Looks. Oh, okay.
We were just talking about this pond.
That's it's a fish activity monitor.
Yes.
No. Gotcha.
Have you ever fished in the pond? Has that ever happened?
I have.
Of course he has.
Just a little bit.
Not too much.
Don't tell my wife. You didn't really. That timing was not that good.
No, you didn't need to answer.
Yeah.
That. It's okay to lie. Nobody knows.
So. The tournaments, are there any other things that really kind of, here's your Gatorade, this is a Powerade, Pete.
That's all right.
Any other things that kind of get you irked with the...
Oh, well, and again, I should clarify, I don't actually hate tournaments, but the blinky shirts, I don't know what it is about me. It's just a weird thing. One sponsor logo is one thing, but 47 is too much, I guess.
It starts to get a bit much.
Whatever. Now I'm going to be in trouble. You got me in trouble.
No,
I
don't. I don't do this to get Pete in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to get real. I'm trying to get real here. I mean, we got dogs coming. We have chickens coming in.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Okay. So
maybe one other thing.
I'm trying to get it out of him.
It's all there. You know.
I know it's there. I know.
He's just trying to coax it.
I won't. I'm not going to push it anymore.
I'm trying to segue back.
Okay.
Now, believe it or not, to the last conversation, because you mentioned Alex Perrick and you asked him. I remember what is going on now. This is exciting, folks. I mean,
behind the scenes is amazing. It's a whole other documentary going on.
Is Esther vacuuming your goldfish pond right now?
That's what's happening with the chickens and 3 dogs.
There could be an elk running through here at any moment.
Perfect.
Where the heck was?
By the way, if I could get my 2 cents in on the
Sure.
tournament shirts, you know, because if guys wear them and they need sponsors, whatever, that's great, you know. But the guys that really annoy me with the tournament shirts are the ones that have nothing at stake, but they wear tournament shirts to make it look like they have some sort of relevance in the fishing.
Oh, you're saying guys that
the
aren't
guys that
really professional.
don't actually
anyway.
have any sponsors,
Yes.
but they just
Oh, dude.
buy a lot of patches.
Maybe that's what Pete was going to rail on next. I don't know.
Oh, sorry. Well, I thought we were switching
That's
subjects, but
actually,
those are
yeah.
the guys that get to me, I guess.
Let me ask you this. Why would someone, okay, and I got to be kind of careful with this because I have a New Canoe sticker on the back of my truck, okay? But I am affiliated with them in a small part. I'm a big believer in New Canoe kayaks. I'm proud to have that sticker. But I kind of, I'm part of the promotional team, so it kind of makes sense. But there are some individuals that are like, man, I am going to sticker the hell out of my vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And it's like, but dude, you're not getting anything out of that. And all you're doing, you're promoting that product, but by just using that product. You know what I mean? That should be enough. No. Shimano. And I love Shimano or whatever. But it's like, I'm not going to put their stuff like stickers on my,
Right.
you know.
In the end, it's a giant foreign corporation that you're just plugging on the back of your bumper, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what you get your jollies from. But
Yeah. I'm sorry, Pete. What were you? I want to
don't
hear
even
what.
know where we're
I
at.
you can't even fit in. We're the
yeah.
angry ones here. You
I
don't
know.
even
Yeah,
Just you were
I'm
gonna
calm.
say I don't want to cut you
mean,
off because
you
this
know.
is important. So you were gonna mention one last thing you were comfortable about mentioning about a pet peeve.
Oh, yeah. Well, that went back to that segue. Let's see. We were
Alex Perrick,
You
you said
asked
something about-
Alex why kids are liking what's going on, what he's doing, and he said, not a whole lot of blatant promotion, more real. You talked about this earlier, right?
Right.
So, with regard to the whole sponsor thing, I would say that the biggest pet peeve I have, and there won't be any names mentioned, but people who don't really even use the stuff that they're promoting, which goes on quite a bit. I can honestly say that now there's some situations, and I will say this, as a guy who had his own lure company, it's impossible to go completely trouble-free. You know, you make mistakes in manufacturing,
Sure.
and you have troubles, and,
Yep.
you know.
Sure.
Some companies try and take care of it, and others don't. But you certainly want things to go well. But there are cases of, you know, people that literally don't even really believe in it or even use it, and yet somebody's saying, hey, will you sponsor this? And suddenly they're saying, I'd stake my life on it. I'd never be in the boat without it, and that kind of thing.
Yep.
So that is one thing that I can say I've always kind of held to. I've turned quite a bit of sponsorships away, actually, but with stuff that I didn't really believe in and didn't. You know.
And I think that's incredibly admirable. I really, really do. I mean, because to me, what it amounts to is that when you're telling someone that you absolutely believe in a product and you don't use that product, or you actually don't use that product or whatever, that's lying. You're a liar. You're lying to that person. You're sending someone down a road that they shouldn't be going down. You know, you're telling them that this is a great product and they're going to go purchase that product. It's kind of a crap product. You know, and yeah, that is pretty pervasive, and I've seen it too. You know, just working on different shoots and whatnot. It's like, how is that not lying? It's lying. You're being dishonest. Okay, so you don't know that person, but that's a human being you're lying to, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And part of, like we've mentioned this before, part of the reason that we've always liked you is because you come across the same guy you are on camera is the same guy you are off camera. And I think that translates a lot to a lot of people because they can kind of see right through that stuff, you know, if you're going in from one plug to the next. And it's different if you're an actor, but if you're kind of being yourself on screen, you kind of have to lead them down the right road, I think.
Yeah, I always feel a little weird, even with products I do believe in, and when you feel like you're crossing a gray line to maybe being over promotional. But then again, the more I believe in it, the more I guess in a way I'm comfortable with it. But you just kind of get that feeling. I do like I do like to hear that. Hey, we think you're a real guy. But the bottom line is, here I'm making fun of blinky shirts and this, that, and the other. But the reality is I actually want people to like me.
Right.
And the last thing on earth I want is for somebody to go out and buy something and have an awful experience and think, well, that Pete Maina is a jerk.
Right.
He told me to buy this, and now I'm pissed off.
Right.
I don't want that.
Right. And I would say, too, that because you have this attitude, you know, that you have this ethic, that and people know this about you, that any product that you do promote is something, it's more powerful that you're promoting it, that you in particular, because people are like, well, he doesn't mess around. Pete Maina, if he's going to promote a product, that's a damn good product.
Right.
You know what I mean? So to me,
it's good for your reputation.
Absolutely. It elevates your reputation as someone that people don't, you know, they know that you're being honest with them. You know, it's more valuable.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and I didn't know I was going to do an AMSOIL plug today, to be real honest with you, but I'm going to, because that's an example of a company that from the time I started using it and the time I met those people, they have the attitude of, we've got the best and we're going to keep the best. They test everything. They, you know, I've never seen a company that works that hard on, you know, not that they've never made a mistake, but that's their attitude.
And that's kind of your dream sponsor. Somebody walks in the door and it's like, well, that's right up my alley. Let's do this, and it makes a great team.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier. You know, you got to, you know, people are all thumbs up, and that's what you want to see. Not, why did you tell me to buy that?
Right, right.
You know,
have you run into that ever? Like, saw somebody in public that was upset about anything you've plugged in the past?
Oh, yeah. You get some people who will let it go because they, you know, I don't know what the reason, if they're afraid to tell you or whatever, but no, some tell you, and if it's legitimate. Now, you know, frankly, there's some people complain they got no business complaining, but legitimate complaints, that hurts me. I don't, you know, I don't feel good about that, and I don't want to hear it. And that's why I, you know, try and do what I'm talking about there is I don't want to be embarrassed by what I'm promoting. It's got to be, you know, if I wouldn't use it, I'm certainly not going to tell somebody to go buy it.
Right. And the other thing, you know, as a fisherman, you kind of have a license to lie. I mean, fishermen are known as great liars. So to not take advantage of that,
we do have that reputation.
I think that's even more commendable to not take advantage of your lying license.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Well, I think, you know, we're going from one controversial topic to maybe the ultimate controversial topic, at least.
Oh, we're getting deeper.
Oh, this is gonna be pretty deep, especially if you're in Minnesota.
Pull up a bucket.
Okay.
Let's talk about
Minnesota Vikings.
Don't you know?
It's not Vikings. It's not Vikings. We're gonna be talking. We're gonna be talking about the great Minnesota muskie controversy.
Oh.
Dun dun dun.
Now, I first kind of, and I should know better because, you know, I live in Minnesota, and I've been, you know, around the fishing world and whatnot, but I really just kind of now saw how big of a deal this issue is in Minnesota. I guess it's mostly Minnesota. People are scared out of their minds of the muskellunge, the mighty muskellunge.
In back alleys, wherever you may lurk in the darkness, there might be a muskie behind you to take you down.
It seems as though people are afraid that a muskie might come down like late at night.
Like Sharknado.
Yeah. In their neighborhood, steal a kid and take off with it out of the town. You know? Like what? So can you kind of explain what's going on there? It seems to be in particular one area, Minnesota, really too. I mean, maybe it's all of. Well, I think actually the more
one area in particular.
Yeah, I'm not totally tuned into it. Was it one lake this controversy started out of, or just an area of Minnesota?
No, it's an area, but essentially it really heated up when the Minnesota muskie stocking program, they introduced them into new lakes. That's what was probably the biggest trigger. Now, this has actually been around forever to a certain extent. It's been around here. We've had, you know, I think I've literally heard it everywhere, and I've been out fishing in New York and Pennsylvania and different places. There's some people that don't like muskies, and, they might eat the kids, dogs, cats, squirrels, whatever swimming around. But
launch squirrels.
What it generally all boils down to is that they're concerned that the muskies are eating everything else in the lake and totally destroying the fishery. In just about every case, it can usually be pointed back to human harvest when it comes to fish population issues. But that's that's where it really stems from. And this is almost got to be like 6 years in a row now. And I think that there's one of these, Minnesota muskie deal pop up, and they try and legislate things and basically get muskies thrown out and no more muskie lakes stocked. And I think one of the reasons it's really come to a head in Minnesota is there's been a group of muskie advocates that have worked with the DNR quite a bit, which I'm all thumbs up on. I think everybody's done a great job really with it there. But
introducing muskies to lakes that have never had muskie in it previously. Is that part of the problem?
Yeah. In some, and I think that's what triggered a lot of it. Was just that they're, and they call them, of course, that's, the way things are these days, you think of a bad name for something you don't want, and they call them invasive species. But what a lot of people don't realize is walleyes. I mean, one of my favorite lakes right up the road, Round Lake, originally there was bass and panfish and northern pike. Walleye and muskie were introduced in there. They're both invasive. If you look at things, both Minnesota and Wisconsin, walleyes have been introduced into a lot of lakes.
That's right.
They get a free pass.
A perfect example of that, Pete, is Lura Lake down south, southern Minnesota, Pete. This lake has no business having walleyes in it.
It was a wetland, essentially.
Really?
And they just forced those walleyes in there,
They put a little dam
man.
up, and then they have an aerator, and nothing would survive the winter.
But completely unnatural, really.
Right, and they're just desperate to turn it into a walleye fishery. And I love walleye fishing, don't get me wrong, but the obsession with walleyes is almost unhealthy to fisheries. I mean, people just seem so protective of the state fish in Minnesota that they go to these great lengths to they don't take anything else into consideration, and at some point you just have to take science into the consideration and say, is this really doing harm, but where did the stink rise up from? Like, most recently they're talking about just shutting down the program. Is that what they're saying? To not stock muskies? Is that the idea? They want to shut that down?
Well, there's a lot of different things they talked about. Definitely no more introductions. A phase out, essentially, of the lakes they've been introduced into, that stocking be stopped, and also harvest. I thought it was something goofy like anything over 20 inches, which is crazy. You might as well just kill them all. But, they wanted to get harvest going and basically eliminate them.
And it's primarily, correct me if I'm wrong here, but do you see most of the opposition is from fanatical walleye anglers? Like, that are worried that I did see one guy, testify is not the right word. He was in front of a hearing or something, this homeowner. It was like Battle Lake resident or something.
Yeah, there's few on West Battle Lake, I know.
And this guy, he absolutely sounded like a great white shark had been introduced into West Battle Lake.
They're mean, yeah.
And that it was going to eat his kids. Like, the muskies were like a threat to his kids swimming in the lake. Like, it was It's just out. I was kind of blown away by how people were overreacting to it.
Well, especially in a state where fishing is like the number one recreational activity. You think people would be in tune to how many people do you know that have been attacked by a muskie or a pike? Like, there's a lot of lakes and a lot of people swimming in them. I mean, it's pretty obvious. There's not a lot of that going on. But the other thing is, are some of these lakes that they're stocking, if they quit stocking, are the lakes unable to sustain themselves? Is that part of the problem? Like,
well, it's
just
every case is different.
Right.
There's good natural reproduction in some, and some would probably need to be partially sustained, and some would probably be able to get by perfectly on natural reproduction at this point. Every case is different with that, but I guess the main point is just the whole idea of where it's coming from, and that they just continue to do it. It's weird because the overall public opinion is for having muskies in there.
Right.
I mean, it's just a small group of people, and it's generally some homeowner groups that get they get wound up about it, and it's almost like their life's passion. But
And it makes good news too. That's
But
part of the problem.
is it the homeowners are worried about swimming, like they're gonna, or is it like who is the biggest opposition? Is it homeowners who are worried about muskies eating their children, or is it walleye guys that are worried that their beloved walleye are all being eaten?
I don't. Well, they're coming up with ridiculous. I mean, the whole idea of eating children is silly. Even though I mentioned, obviously, that's not a real viable concern.
I don't see any children
I
lures
would have
hanging on
to
this
say.
back wall, like the embryo.
Yeah. It's
Do you have any baby lures?
yeah. Somebody's got to make a baby.
The human baby musky lure.
Yeah. They so commonly eat babies
Oh,
that
look,
we would
there's
definitely have to.
There's a
have
toddler on the wall.
Yeah, Musky Mikey. Throw him in and see how he does.
Wait, yeah, we gotta go in a different direction from there.
But how would you? Okay, but how would you argue against it? Like, so it's kind of a funny argument to hear. But if somebody has that argument, their children feel threatened, or even if they're arguing it's wiping out their walleye fishery, like, what is your counter argument to that?
Well, there's just absolutely no evidence of it. There's actually been stomach content surveys really because of these concerns. That was the other thing. They're calling for a whole bunch more money to be spent studying this stuff. Well, it's money wasted away. Frankly, it can all be figured out through common sense. Nobody seems to want to do that, especially these days. But, there's been stomach content surveys everywhere. And actually, back to the common sense aspect, yes, a muskie eats everything. They'll eat a crappie and a walleye and a bluegill and themselves, northern pike,
Right.
anything that gets in their way that's easy to grab, crayfish, frogs, whatever, you name it. They will eat it all. And it's just a matter of convenience and getting the job done, and then they lay around and burp and fart. But they tend to grab, when you look at the results of these stomach content surveys, whatever is most plentiful in the lake and easy to catch. That's also common sense. If they go after a bluegill 10 times and catch it twice, but they go after a white sucker 10 times and they catch it 8 times out of 10, they're going to start going for white suckers.
Right.
And that's essentially what they're doing. But white sucker and perch are the most common. Both walleye and bass, the ones that they seem to be concerned about the most, on average are about 2%.
Wow.
So, and maybe more importantly, there's all kinds of examples of tremendous walleye fisheries and pan fisheries where there are muskies. Of course, you go across the border up in Canada. There's no stocking anywhere. The lakes are massive. These species have been living together for years and years and years, and
Right.
everybody seems to be fine. And then
Mille Lacs seems like a perfect example in the Minnesota side of a massive walleye fishery that turned into a great muskie fishery that is now supporting an amazing smallmouth fishery on top of everything. And humans are the #1 problem for all of those fish. I mean, if you're worried about their fish surviving, so it seems like it has nothing to do. The fish can get along with each other and find that balance. It always comes down to how many put and takes are rolling in and what people are doing with them. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think let's kind of move away now from the controversial.
we're moving away.
Well, I think
It's getting tense.
No more baby lure talk.
No, that's really tasteless, and I apologize for such remarks.
The chickens have moved out, although I just recently noticed that one of them just took a dump.
That's a really
right
substantial.
by the old MacBook Pro.
They do that a lot. They really do.
Well, I did feed them, so I was kind of asking for trouble.
Yes.
So to wrap up here, first of all, I appreciate your time very much.
We've held you
podcast.
hostage long enough.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank God there's ice on the lake, because I'm pretty sure Pete doesn't sit this still.
No, absolutely
for this amount
not.
of
Can
time.
you blame
not
him?
normally.
If there's open water.
But I do want to so we talked about sponsors. The sponsors that you have, you really believe in. You really believe in sound. You're always, I've said this about you before, but you're always tinkering back here, tinkering with lures, and you're a big believer in sound. And one of your sponsors, Livingston Lures, do you have that box, Pete?
Yeah, where did that go?
Oh, there's
Is
one right behind you, I
Here we
think.
go.
Yeah.
By the way, when we were sturgeon fishing, the only sturgeon we caught was by the use of sound. Was that Livingston?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
That's-
was
yeah.
one of their sound boxes.
Right.
Yeah.
That was
actually.
sort of a template of what they were trying to do to use sound to attract. But could you explain this one a little bit? Because I'm interested. I'm not real familiar with this one at all, actually.
So
well,
what's
that's
cool?
just
Yeah.
the style. That one's called a headhunter. It's a combination crankbait, swim bait. But you got to describe them all. I mean, at the end of the day, the story's real simple. It's just every single lure comes with a battery system and sound maker in it. And essentially what they do is they record the sounds, distress signals from different prey fish. So, and these days now, when you buy the predator ones, the musky ones, if you buy a perch color, that's a perch distress sound. Shad, Cisco. So they're dialing it in more
that's really,
all
really
the time, and they're really interesting to work with. And
where are the batteries embedded in here? Like, how do you get
oh,
to
they're right. Actually, we don't have it here, and it'd be too much jumping around. But it'll be. I'll show you when we're done.
You can flip it on and off.
A clear model. It turns on automatically when it
hits the water.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And they started in the bass world, and they've been going for like 8 years now. And we got together here a couple of years ago. Now my job, I don't know anything about the sound other than I'm extremely into it, and I've seen it make a difference fishing, and it's really fun for me. Greg, knowing me as long as he has, knows the way I think, and especially these days with more pressured fish. I mean, it's more important all the time to have any kind of an edge, whether it be lure action, sound, or whatever. But I have found that sound to me is definitely a bigger factor than color. Not that color isn't a factor, but it's a big factor.
That's amazing to say.
Yeah, I'm trying to dial it in a little more, and I don't think I'll ever figure it out completely. You sit there, you catch a muskie, and did you say 100%? Well, I caught that fish because of the sound. Well, you don't really know that. But I've seen some pretty profound cases where it starts to, get beyond chance.
Yep.
You see the patterns happening, and you dial it into knowing its sound, like I did years ago with topwater lures. That was the first thing that really got me. Topwater lures, I was absolutely convinced even 30 years ago. Sound meant more than anything.
Right.
Now I'm kind of getting that way with, this.
Well, you're affecting a bigger area.
It's interesting you say that too, because like in the bass fishing world, like buzz baits in particular, every bass fisherman wants that buzz bait to make a particular squeak.
Oh yeah.
And it makes a damn big difference. I've used different buzz baits, and actually like the clevis of a buzz bait, bass fishermen in the know will clamp that clevis down so it's on that wire not turning, and so it's just more friction on that
So it's screaming a little bit.
Like it's squeaking, and it's really like different styles of baits, like the kind of cup there is, for a topwater bait, and it makes it it's really interesting to see the like bass fishing world, musky fishing world. It makes sense though when you think about it, that fish would be, it's water. Water transmits sound so much better than air. That fish would be attuned to that.
Oh, it's amazing. If I started last fall sticking a GoPro down to get underwater when there's a Livingston lure stuck in their mouth. It's amazing how well you can hear those.
Yeah.
That lure talking to you.
Super far distances.
Just one more layer of fishing to pay attention to. Isn't that the frustrating part about fishing? You spend your whole life learning, and you keep getting this stuff tuned in, and you feel like you're racing.
And then you're dead.
Yeah, you're racing your life. I'm finally getting good at this, and then the big old finish line is just looming on the horizon. But anyway, so do we have anything else to cover, or should we release Pete from his punishment?
I think we should release
today?
Pete. Release Pete back into the wild.
I'm home. Poor guy's got to.
Oh yeah, that's right. We've got to drive.
But
home.
I would like to say thank you very much, Pete, for letting us come up here and bug you for a couple of hours over a couple of podcasts here. We really appreciate it. And the drive was nothing. It's a beautiful part of the country, so it gives me more opportunities to look for places to fish. So the drive was no problem. I was having fun the whole ride up. So thank you very much for that. Anything you want to add, Greg?
I just say, subscribe to Pete's YouTube channel. He's growing it. I'm going to help you as much as I can grow it. After this podcast, I'm going to talk with Pete about some of the stuff I've learned on YouTube.
He's on Twitter and Instagram.
Yep.
We're social.
We
are social.
Unbelievably social. So
yeah.
With that being said,
subscribe to our channel, like this video, share the video, and gosh, hey dude, right here, pleasure doing this podcast with you. Always great talk with you.
I will be suing you for the faulty chair, and be careful not to step in the chicken when you stand up. And
I'll wipe it off your computer. Don't worry.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time.